Hi, everyone. Conrad here, and
Yes.
welcome back to the Well Aware podcast. I'm here with Mike Montalvo of Art Kage Studios. I am really excited to make this introduction of Mike because our narrative goes back in such a way that it is so unique to so many other relationships that I meet with in my world of business. Mike, I can think back right now to the exact moment in which I opened your cold email pitch to me, where, and I can't wait to work with my team on the back end for them to like pull out this image. I was actually searching for it the last like 15 minutes before this Riverside meeting was
You
put up.
gotta find it.
I have to find it. If not, you need to help find me. You need to help find it for
I
me.
will help find you.
Um, Thank you, thank you. The the image is you like with the silliest looking face, like holding up a notepad where it literally looks like you wrote down like my name and like personalized information. And I knew, like, to a certain extent, I knew it wasn't like actual, like you didn't go out of your way to do this, like, and that you do this with every single cold outbound person. I knew it was a system, but I was still like, am I right though? Is it still like, is it
I had enough
systematized?
enough editing skills. Just
Yeah.
prepared.
And so I guess that triggered my curiosity. I wasn't even looking for your services at the time, but I decided to accept amongst the many cold emails I never bothered to read. Like, yours was also there's also something said about how good your cold email actually was in and of itself. Like, it was actually worth reading. And so I decided to reach out to you and respond and say, like, all right, let's have this meeting. Let's see what's going on. And then you started walking me through, at the time, you were working as part of Green Revenue.
That's right.
And your relationship to them was essentially a sales coach as part of their program, and you were basically walking me through like how that sales program worked and what I was going to learn through that coaching process. So needless to say, I did have a bit of intrigue because I was looking to improve my sales operational performance and just wanted to get a little bit better at sales for consulting, for the VAs, for what have you. And yet at the same time, even though we were having that conversation, it was so interesting because I felt like our relationship was also expanding just beyond those topics. And in some respects, like any cold stranger I think would feel, I wasn't sure if those conversations were just being explored because ultimately you needed to go through a sell, and so you were just building rapport to build rapport, or if there was a genuine human being behind this relationship that wanted to unfold. And it was the latter. And so here we are. We have a lot of catching up to do between now and what happened then, because I think
Yeah.
that's important to the story. But with that being said, Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for being so gracious, and thank you for that intro. Thank you for giving a little backstory. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be here for sure. Thank you.
So, Mike, let's start. I learned about you through your cold outreach. I learned about you as a sales coach. And during that time, you were essentially at the very early stages of our relationship, you were pitching to me about joining this sales coaching program. That changed. But before we get into that particular change and what happened then, I'd love for you to just share with the audience a little bit more about your background, where you came from, and I guess to a certain extent, how you found yourself emailing me.
Catch them up on the story of my life.
A little
Goodness.
bit.
Started. We'll go back when I was a wee baby. My daughter's watching too many Brave movies, so I got a little. You might find some Disney hiccups come every now and then. Okay. So, anyways, that's a fun fact. My name is Michael Montalvo. I have two daughters and a beautiful wife. Hence the hat. I actually have another one. Fun fact: being a dad and a husband is like a big part of who I am for sure. With that being said, yeah, life started in Rancho Cucamonga. I had that typical little suburb. Funny enough, I'm first generation on my mom's side. My mom was born in Guadalajara, so for my mom and dad came from East LA, both of them, and so for them to give me the life that I had, it doesn't really sound like a mom and dad from East LA giving you know what I mean? It's kind of crazy. My grandma came to this country, brought over, her man, this is cousins and four, five daughters and one son. um, so there was a lot that she brought over, and at the end of the day, it turned into this story of my mom and dad moving to the suburbs of Rancho Cucamonga, and then giving us this beautiful life. and I went to Damien High School then, and I had a great passion and still do have a passion for architecture. I found this passion over a summer, and then I went to study architecture at Syracuse University, which was really fun. And that was back, I graduated in 2017. And then beyond that, I moved into, 8 years of that profession in which, unfortunately, it was soul depleting for me. And I am an extrovert by nature, but an introvert, at heart, I would say. So really, what you're catching is like my soul really not really vibing with the profession that is architecture. And so I had a real talk with my wife, and just kind of told her like, hey, I'm going to turn into this like not so good husband if I keep going down this road, and not so good father. I just felt like every day coming home, the monotony, excuse me. And I had ventured in college into a few different sales, network marketing, doing my own things. I've even propped up, some t-shirt companies when I was a teenager. And then my mom and dad have been in sales their whole life. My mom's the VP of East West Bank. My dad is been doing insurance his whole life. So I've kind of been around it. They did ADP, and so I was kind of brought up and I've been around it, but I didn't really know that. I was just living life as a kid. But at the same time, when I was doing those sales ventures when I was a teenager, I found success. And it wasn't a massive amount of success, but it was success. And I had fun doing it. And I felt, you know, energetic and I felt more me. And to the point where I actually thought about dropping out. Thank mom and dad that I didn't. So I am very, very, joyous in the fact that I stuck with it and I did graduate. So I do want to say that I commend my support system from being there for me for that. But at the end of the day, it didn't pay off in terms of that profession wasn't right for me. I moved into sales. I moved into marketing. I got an odd job over here. We moved from when we got married, my wife and I. Shout out you, my baby, Ariel. Um, we moved from Southern California to Logan, Utah, which is pretty sweet. And values, work ethic, cost of living, all that good stuff, a little bit more aligned over here. And so yeah, we made the jump, and I made the jump actually coming into an architectural job, and then that didn't pan out for reasons you now know why. And I just found a sales job over here, inside sales rep. And then at the time I joined a community, and met the then founder of Green Revenue. And so now we're kind of catching up, right? Yeah, I met the then founder of Green Revenue. He turned out to be a good friend, and really took me in and taught me everything I know as far as like a B2B perspective. And that was the little spark that I needed. And we ended up growing that business from that June all the way through to the time that it transitioned where you caught the bare end of that right here in 2024. There's a lot of journey in between that I'm kind of skipping over, because it's not that relevant. But at the end of the day, I am always grateful for Monty. Shout out to you for teaching me and getting me going in the marketing space, and really training me, and really breaking down systematically everything that is kind of implanted in here right now. So from a mentor standpoint, mentee standpoint, I will always be grateful. That was really, really, paramount to what I'm doing now, actually, because he gave me that platform to where like I just started out. He was just training me. Like I was not even getting paid. I was getting paid for commission, but I wasn't making commission until about what 2 months later. And then we grew the company, which was really fun, and it was very successful. He had to pivot just because of some back end business decisions, which again, it's not my business, so I can't get into it. But he did pivot into something that's more AI SaaS related, which you'll get into in a little bit here. But that's where we met, and now we're all caught up. And I made this cold email that, at the end of the day, I was being my authentic self, and you got a hold of it. When we sat down and we talked, immediately you can get a sense. I've always been the type of person that's very authentic, and I have to believe in what I'm doing. Doesn't matter what it is, architecture, sales, marketing. I have to believe in what I'm doing. There has to be an ethical sense of that. My mom and dad, they did raise me Catholic, and I've since transitioned into more, well, I believe that there is a creator, and in that creator, I know him by Yahuwah. You can call him or her by whatever you want. I'm not going to go into that, but at the end of the day, for me, there is a creator, and that essentially brought me into an ethical standpoint from how I do business. So, Yah has blessed me in, giving me parents that have provided integrity, work ethic, ethical, just an ethical being of going about not wanting to mess people over. So, with that being said, um, essentially, I've learned that in this life, you got to be your most authentic self. And so, when we were doing a lot of the marketing on the B2B end, that's what I was. I showed off where I was. I was living with my mom at the time, my wife, and my firstborn, who's now 4. And I was trying everything. I was doing one-offs. I was doing the family. I was doing the picture on the fridge, and it was all not all working, but it was all working to a degree, but some were working better than others. But at the end of the day, it was very fun to be a part of. It's amazing because, again, everything happens for a reason, right? We're on this podcast because of that email. And so even though that business didn't end up working out, I did find a sense of purpose in coaching, and ultimately it's led to the leaping point that I'm at now, which is pretty incredible. I had kind of, once that business pivoted, man, and you can tell me and stop me if I'm talking too much, but once that business pivoted, it was kind of a come to Jesus moment because I got 2 girls now. One's 4, one's 1.5, and so I ran to the marketing jobs that I could find, applying. I probably applied to like over 275 jobs. I landed a lot of different interviews, and funny enough, some of these interviews on LinkedIn ended up turning out to be fraudulent, meaning they posted a base salary, and that wasn't the case. Me having a family, that meant a lot. So and plus, in the marketing world, you either have the knowledge of setting up these systems and running the systems and have the marketing and advertising psychology, or you don't. It's a skill set that needs to be learned. So there's not really a commission only role there. There's a lot of setup, there's a lot of knowledge behind it, and there's a lot of skill behind it. Sales, yes, but you do have to provide the leads from a marketing end. So it's a little different. So I tried essentially having this conversation with you that one fruitful afternoon in which we hopped on the phone just as friends. At this point, it's been a few months. You're still working with the company Outbound Labs right now, which is pretty cool. And I had since transitioned out of that just because of the nature of what I wanted and what I wanted to be doing. And yeah, at the end of the day, it just fell into this crazy offer in which I was pitching my services to these job opportunities that I was on an interview for. And so I was like, hey, like, I would love to do this for, this price. Normally we charge this price when I was coaching it, but hey, why not we just do this? And then we run a performance pay at the back end. And that's when we had our conversation. You were like, well, Mike, I'll fucking hire you. What are you talking about?
The
So,
it was really apparent to me, Mike, that despite the fact that during your focus under green revenue, that there was this coaching program offer that you had, which
yeah,
again, literally was at the time that I was deciding on how to close on that decision from a procurement standpoint. That was when Monty himself, as the founder of Green Revenue, made the switch and said, "Hey, we're no longer servicing this product or this program.
yeah,
We're now going into this sort of AI realm." Which, by the way, Conrad, you're more than welcome to try that out and sort of see how it can support Willowware. And definitely would love to have a separate discussion on like that whole sort of experience, because it's probably one of the biggest experiences that I've ever had with regards to letting AI do something for the company
mm,
in such a way that produces such an interesting set of results that I can speak to now that I've had a couple of months to kind of let it operate. And yet, again, as I'd like to put it to Mike's credit, even if he's too humble to accept it, the only reason all that happened was because he was a genuine relationship, as he likes to say it. I think it comes like, I love it because it comes across almost a little bit tacky. It's like when you're hanging out with a stranger and they say like, "But I'm an authentic human being," and you're like, "Okay, cool," but you actually mean it.
yeah,
And I've been in a similar position in my world where I feel like people tell me I overuse the word gratitude, and then they come to realize, oh crap, Conrad's actually grateful. Um, and so
Wait, but I
that's I'm
actually live in gratitude.
right, yeah, and I'm sorry, but I'm not just saying the words for the sake of habit.
Yeah.
So that to me, alongside just the way you've gone about communicating in a sales representative, like I was ready to purchase your services in that regard immediately, and it was at that point when, given the transition, given where things have been at with my business, given your offer, which was like just too good to be true, I was like, yep, I'm going full on in this. Mike, I need to hire you as a sales coach. And so now we've been working together for what, over a month now. And
Just over,
in this
yeah.
particular regard, like we've done just such an incredible amount of things together. Just recently, you've like completely solved this bottleneck that I had with myself and my thinking strategy around how do I go about transparently sharing the pricing structure of Well Aware, both on the VA side, consulting side, my track management philosophy. I have had just such a struggle, even though I went through so much effort and so much money and resources to the best of my ability, work with a copywriter who's also amazing, to work with website designers and brand designers who are also amazing. All these folks, like we've built the website to where it is. And yet here I am just sitting there going, this isn't marketing. This is just a really glorified resume for Well Aware. You just sitting down with me and really getting into the really core understandings of sales
Yeah.
has been so instrumental. And it keeps on going. Like I want to say thank you for just handling the delivery of where I'm at as a entrepreneur, as a business owner, and how I'm trying to understand sales as a workflow, as an operation. When you get into the actual sales conversation itself, like the fact that you listen to the Fathom calls that I forwarded to you and said, like, hey, here are my thoughts and comments. That to me is just such an awesome experience. And maybe for those of you who've already had a sales coach out there, or for those of you who work in this space and have coaching a lot like that, maybe this is normal to you. And I would say it's not like these standards, surprise me or anything like that. It's just I really appreciate that it's Mike that's doing it for me, right? That's been the relationship that's been so meaningful, given the way he set this relationship up with me from day one. And as a result, it just speaks so highly to not just the fact that these are important conversations to be had around sales, but it's coming from a guy who literally got into my door via a cold email. Like, how many of you are sincere about, like, I've definitely warmed up to cold email in a unique way through working with Mike and through just my exposure to business as a whole, because I realized like good cold email actually works. It's not just like cold email bad. But to that end, there is time, patience, luck, skill, all involved in this. You're still playing a numbers game. But when you start to really recognize the numbers for what they are and how you're going to go about, committing time and money and resource to them, that you start to change. You start to really think differently about marketing and sales as a function of business. So,
And to that point, I just want to piggyback off that really quick, if I may.
please.
Yeah, absolutely. All advertising is an extension of who's hitting the submit button, who's hitting the send button, who's posting the ad. You can hire, agencies to do X, Y, and Z, fill in framework, throw in a USP with a CTA and do a hypothetical question at the beginning. But it all comes down to, one, do you feel genuine and authentic in the fact that you can actually deliver for your client, most importantly, customer, whatever it might be, product, service? Because if you do, that's going to transfer, right? In the work ethic, in how you talk, in just your general vibe that you're getting off. But whatever it is, especially in email marketing, people who say email marketing is dead, that's crazy. I cannot stand behind that, because what they're not doing, they might be doing some form of email marketing, but what they're probably not doing is putting, their authentic brand, their authentic self, their authentic man, I can't talk. You definitely are doing better email marketing than my talking right now, for sure. Um, but no, they're just not being, full in who they are as a business and how they're presenting. And then they're most likely just think they've tried it all and or are just not doing enough. They think after sending, 500 emails that was a lot. That's not a lot. That's actually like very, very little, and you're just breaking, like into some iteration, but that's very little. I mean, literally, you have companies out there that are making millions a month with email marketing, right? And that's just one, right? I mean, plug Alex Hermosi does a great job of providing free resources and stories as to how you approach just advertising in general. So plug to shout out to Alex. Definitely want to make sure that that's said because a lot of my knowledge, I literally, working and transparent, right? I base myself on authenticity and transparency. Right now, like I had to drop down. Well, okay, here we go. Let's just get real. Goodness gracious. In that time period where I'm applying for jobs, my wife, just incredible, has been working for In-N-Out for like 10 years and got me a job at Cleanup, just put money on the table and, just to really just bring home something that we can just have as a foundation month to month. And so I've been working cleanup at In-N-Out, and let me tell you, I understood right away when I got in there why they're $1 billion company, right? And I'm so grateful for the experience. And it is a little bit sad because I do love the job so much because it's working with my hands and I love the people there and I get to enjoy an In-N-Out burger right after, which is amazing. But anyways, I'll digress. It's just I listen to Alex. I listen to his podcast. I listen to his books, and I listen to Myron Golden. Huge shout out to Myron Golden. At the end of the day, I'm listening to these guys while I'm working, right? The entire shift. And it's really a beautiful thing to be able to learn new things and just keep stacking, and kind of bringing it full circle. When I'm listening to them, it really just makes me have that much more belief that when you're running a business, you need to be well aware. Shameless, shameless. You need to be well aware. You need to be well aware of how you're coming off, who you are, who you want to serve, and what the heck is the goal of what you're trying to do as a business, right? It could be as simple as I'm cutting a lawn, or I'm trying to solve sales, marketing, and branding solutions, services, systems, automations for startups, small businesses, medium businesses, whatever it might be. It just comes full circle. You need to know those things, otherwise you're going to have a real challenge in business in general, possibly in life. But that's a topic for another day.
You're bringing up a certain understanding that I think comes across really easily to those who already get their scope of business. But for those that don't, this is where we're trying to almost try to communicate with them, right? I'm trying to almost bridge their gap. I'm going to use that term awareness again. I know it's a funny one in my particular lexicon, but it's just too many implications. Thank you. We're trying to meet their particular level of sophistication around what it means to be successful in a business capacity. And it does sound stupid simple to just say, like, you just need to know what you're doing and you just need to practice whatever those skill sets are. And of course, there's sometimes a bit of a fake it till you make it, or more so practice until it's good, where you kind of have to sell your services, almost on a hope that someone accepts it. And I remember being in those stages. I also remember being in the stages of business where I can distinctly recall trying my best to almost inauthentically speak as though I were better than I currently was. And people could smell it out of me. And I even had someone very directly comment to me, like in like a Facebook direct message. Like I was in the Facebook groups. I was learning how to like try to sell in those many different groups. And that was what I was told was going to make me successful. And I hated how inauthentic I was. And I hated how difficult it was to even just try to understand how I was communicating. And it was because I still hadn't figured out a lot of, frankly, my service delivery. Like I didn't have enough exposure to being a successful service deliverer, a provider in that regard. And so this woman just straight up called me out and said, I can read the way you're coming across in your messaging. And I know that you're coming across inauthentic, which hurt. And I know that you want to come across authentic, and I know that you're trying. And in as harsh a way, but also in as politeful way as she could say it, she was saying, you're just going to have to figure this out. Like, you're just going to have to get good enough for the messaging to come meet you. And
Right.
that was such a difficult thing to hear at the time, but I can look back on it now and go, I am so impressed that my language choice and my ability to communicate have come
Yeah.
through, well, like articulation is a skill, sure, but it's really come through having enough experience to speak on, so
Yeah.
that when someone is asking me, how can I serve you? What can you do for me? And how do I just approach them in general? Now it's like the sales sort of weird sort of feeling of like I'm being enough, like none of that even comes out because it
Yeah.
doesn't exist anymore. I'm actually just genuinely here to help. And frankly, I'm in this position now where if someone is, sort of detracting from that message or like not really, caring about it or suspicious or whatever, it's like, geez, I'm sorry you feel that way. But
Yeah.
like, again, it goes back to the whole gratitude thing. Like, are you really grateful, Conrad? And I'm like, yeah, like you're just going to have to be exposed enough to see that, or you could just walk away. Either way, like I've got plenty of things to do. Um,
Right. If they're like holding a mirror in the sales conversation or diagnosis or whatever it might be, whatever the sales process calls for. But at the end of the day, if they don't take your gratitude at face value, that's more of a mirror to them, on what they're going through, and it's unfortunate. And but the second we sat down is what the biggest thing actually, like, hey Mike, super grateful we're here. And now that you bring up the attitude of gratitude, it just kind of, it really, hey, listen, again, my mom and dad, they have so many books, and we literally had a rock that said attitude, your attitude determines your altitude. All right, like literally in the office as I was growing up. But anyways, shout out mom and dad. uh what's it called, your gratitude and your sincerity, it came off to me, and I didn't question it because i'm I love it. Like, I'm not gonna. I think if you're being if you're in a grateful attitude, if you have that sincerity in you, it's just gonna get reciprocated. And if it doesn't, again, it's one of those emotions. It's like being positive around a negative person. It's like, all right, the negative person is just not gonna take it, and that's okay. But we don't want that to happen, right? We want that negative person to be like in the light with us and having fun and enjoying it, and not taking life so seriously. There are serious moments, don't get me wrong, but most everything is just a gift, really. I mean, literally, just to be breathing is a gift. So it doesn't, there's a lot of things that can happen. There's a lot of things that have happened in life, but at the end of the day, you got to carry that gratitude, that grace, and that humility around. It's like, if you don't, you think you're either better than everybody or you think you're nothing at all, which none of those are true.
I coming from the engineering background, which I know you can appreciate, Mike, as well in architecture, like there's a logic branch somewhere here that is
Yeah.
really interesting to explore when you think in this sort of very analytical frame. And you can kind of take gratitude as a logic path that against the other options, right? And go, okay, well, every time I objectively practice this form of attitude, the following things happen. I feel a certain way. People around me feel a certain way. Certain things as a result come about. Okay, cool. The sort of the path of lesser resistance now suddenly starts to go down, at least from what I've seen. And I used to follow the paths that led to greater resistance towards the objectives that I wanted to meet. Being, overly stressed and frustrated and kind of like venting out and just kind of like not, being stoic and considerate towards how my anger was
Mm.
impacting others, or, just generally understanding like the internal struggles I was feeling within myself. Like I wasn't expressing any gratitude for any things I currently had, or any of the
Yeah.
situations that I was currently involved in, and how blessed I was. And so it's not to say that one can't be in situations where things are truly terrible. I think there are disconnects that we have in society against some of the real cruelties, and people are in certain respects, I think, totally rational of them to be
Yeah.
hateful and in pain. Um, I also agree that it'd be nice if, to the best of our ability as a community, if we can so see ourselves that way, then we could try to be of help. And yet, there are limitations, right? There's only so much we can do. That is one of the other more painful things to realize, that there are certain realities we have to accept,
Yeah.
and just try to do our best and try not to help. everything and everyone to the degree in which it becomes unsustainable for us to survive and thrive. But hey, digressions, right? Mike,
Digressions.
I want to circle back on how a lot of this translates into the way you and I've been working, and the reason why I wanted you to be on this podcast. It it's really in a testament to say, like, dude, you have been such an incredible support for Well Aware in just this short brief of time, despite the fact that our relationship began all the way back in like February of this year. Um, it being September now. And so throughout these many months, you and I have chatted. We've had great talks. We've had really great discussions around business, around sales, around branding, reputation, marketing, pricing, you name it. We've also talked about fun little business ideas.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to do. To I want to give the audience a focus right now on what exactly it is that you're currently offering. I want you to share how much of it is you're offering for. I want people's jaws to drop temporarily, and then I want you kind of like resuspend that belief and just be like, okay, and by the way, like here's why I'm doing this. Here's where I'm at, and I really want you to share the goal that you shared with me, a little bit
Yeah.
less than a week ago about what you want to accomplish in these coming days. I think that's such an interesting goal of yours. And I want to
Yeah.
figure out how, by proxy of us being here and talking about it, we can move that particular goal forward. So let's
Yeah.
hear it. Salesman, please help me.
um Goodness gracious. Well, let me just start at
I
the
told you this
current.
conversation would be fun.
It has definitely been fun, and we can go off on so many tangents. We've had many conversations over the months. But yeah,
We've
no,
updated
I'll
calendar blocks.
yeah, we've got a lot of time together, which I am super grateful for. And yeah, anyways, I'll digress. Let's go ahead and just start with what I'm doing now and who I'm serving now, which is essentially small businesses and startups at a cost of $500 a month for a studio retainer. And then I deliver on the pay per performance end, which is either a 10% on MRR, it's either a 10% on gross profit split, it's either a quarterly bonus. Like, for example, my uncle, my Theo, shout out Carlos. I got a lot of shout outs. This is my first podcast if you haven't caught on to that. But anyways, I'm learning as I'm going that the main thing I want to focus on, okay, I have a steel for a base, and then at the end of the day, I come in and I work my butt off for that pay per performance. I want to get paid when the business gets paid. That's the most important part there. Whatever shape form that takes form in, that's the most important thing. I'm at a stage in my career in sales and marketing where a few years back, I've learned this. I've been a part of over 165 plus startups. Literally, in my experience with Green Revenue, it was nuts. It was amazing. I learned so much in such a little bit amount of time. That when I'm talking about now my Arcage Studios, which is Arcage Sales, Marketing, and Branding Studios, that's exactly what I want it to be. But I need to feel like my clients are getting me for a steal and then just produce, 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 bring as much value as possible to my partners as possible. And that's really where I'm coming from right now is I want to analyze, what from a business standpoint do you need either in the sales category, the marketing category, the branding category. Startups need a lot more. I have a friend, Gianni, who, he's an aviation mechanic. He's got a full-time job. God bless his soul. He's amazing. But he's been working at this dream of, Believers Club and developing a fitness faith brand. And I was like, hey, I called him up out of the blue. How is that going? Like, are you progressing? Are you liking what you're doing? Like, what's going on? And he loves his job, but he just doesn't have the time or energy or resources to really give the business what it needs and plug and play those operations from a sales, marketing, and branding standpoint. So he wants to do this whole rebrand market. I'm like, dude, this is a lot of work. Are you going to be able to get this all done this year, let alone, like making progress every single day? And he's like, honestly, I don't know. And I was like, okay, well, then I introduced, the offer in which, now we're working together. I'm very excited, putting together his branding identity, really what he wants to focus on, because a lot of the fitness and the faith area, it comes from identity. It comes from, who you are and how you actually relate to that brand. And so, having good ideas like him and I just chatting it up one night, going through Instagram and being like, oh, wow, like what if we hit up some faith-based creators who were also athletes and just had them, give them some apparel, show them our mission, connected with them? What if we met with churches? What if we cold emailed every single church within a 50-mile radius of you? And we started that relationship of community engagement and being there every Sunday and starting to set up these events. So, like, every business is going to be different. With my Theo, Carlos, he's a financial advisor. And again, he has his own way of being. He has his own clients. He also has different offers and different products, right? So it's way different of a structure. He doesn't need the branding. He doesn't need, the sales ops. He needs a lot of marketing, and how to systematize his seminars, how to systematize his email marketing. How can he do social right in that space? Those are things that every business needs to strategize on and then execute. And so knowing the systems to execute and knowing the strategies to implement, that's really where I shine. And I don't say that in a bragging sense. I say that in a Alex Ramosi evidence by, confidence by evidence, excuse me. So, at the end of the day, I've just seen a lot of businesses. I've been privy to that. It's been a blessing to be working a workaholic in these businesses, and just being able to, have that exposure. And so when you throw yourself in the fire, it's going to get hot. And it got hot really quickly. And so at the end of the day, for me, I'm trying to deliver as much value as I can while I'm just starting. And my wife, again, she's the support and the backbone behind everything. She said, Michael, if you don't build something in the next 10 years and you look up, you know, are you going to be regretful of that decision? And wholeheartedly, yeah. So I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for my girls to show them, when you have a skill set, when you have something to say, and when you believe in what you do. mm, I get emotional talking about my family. Um, mm, whew, yeah, no, you can genuinely make an impact on the individuals around you, the community around you, the businesses you work with. And it all comes down to, we're all human. We're all trying to figure this thing out called life. And people, if they think they're going to figure it out on their own, they're going to be sadly mistaken. And so that is a perfect transition, actually, into what I really want to do from a business standpoint that's going to allow me to bring a lot of value to, my community and, just my partners and the people that I'm going to be very grateful to end up working with. But yeah, should I dig into that? Very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, cool. So from that standpoint, I'm currently working on setting up, a business model, which I've already got the model down. I've already got the fulfillment in place. I know how to fulfill. But essentially, here's the play in which the people I want to serve. And I thought about, all these businesses that I've worked with. They've all had something in common. They serve a particular avatar. And so the hardest thing in business, even for somebody who's been exposed to a lot of different businesses, okay, well, who am I going to serve? Um, and I struggled with that for a couple of months, but I really came across a breakthrough. I thought, who better to serve than, somebody who's been in my shoes, who is working a full-time job, has a family, uh, and has been working at their side hustle slash startup for the last, 6 to 12 months, 24 months, however long it's been, and they haven't seen progress. And there's so many different reasons why, right? I got two kids. I know that's more than a full-time job. It takes everything from you. And so when you're when you're living life in that scenario, your community, the people around you, that's going to be the people who get you going. And from a business standpoint, I don't know whether this is out there or not. I haven't done the market research. I just know this is who I want to help, right? I want to help those families, those entrepreneurs that are, they want to get going. and they want to break through, but they just don't have the energy, the time, or the effort to do it. And so I want to act as a business operator with them. And so, the biggest thing that I'm going to strategize on and make sure I can deliver for them is I'm going to be hosting, client acquisition strategy workshops in which everybody who comes on, I'm going to deliver on a value side of things. No matter what, if you come and you show up and you fill out the form, I'm going to give you a blueprint. I am going to give you everything you need from a 13-month standpoint to be able to take action on. And I'm going to, in that workshop, in that strategy session, really put out some fires, right? And give you maybe some systems, some technology, some insight, some psychology, whatever it might be. Because even you know this, Conrad, even just some minor coaching and tidbits here could be the unlock. That it could be one thing, it could be multiple things. I don't know that until we start sitting down and diving in. And then at the end of it, of course, if these families, if these familypreneurs, I'll call them, or if you are a husband or a wife and you have a side hustle, and one or the other is mainly taking care of the kids, but you have this vision, just like I did. Shoot, I even wish I had this when I was an architectural designer, but I really feel like the most, again, it goes back to how can I deliver the most value to the people that I can serve the most, right? And that is the families out there who are trying to get their startups going, trying to get their side hustles going, but they're not having any traction. So for $250 a month, essentially you would just partner with me. I would deliver on, the sales, marketing, and branding, operations, and deliverables. Let's say you needed a website, let's say you needed a logo, new branding. That's big, crucial for the foundation of what your business is. And then, of course, you got marketing. So you need strategies and systems there, which, again, is a very strong suit. It's a strong suit play, whether you're either local, B2C, B2B, it doesn't matter. Because, again, of the things we've talked about in this podcast, at the end of it, we're going to be exposing and amplifying, your authentic self within the business, why you're doing it, all that good stuff. And then from a sales standpoint, right now we got to actually make sure to get them over the line. So what is going to get them over the line? It's so many different answers for so many different businesses, but that's operations, that's systems. If you need dialers, if you need, AI, more AI driven, that's possible, which is crazy now. The world of AI and sales, marketing, and branding has just made the again, full transparency, my team and I are going to be partnering with Conrad Ruiz over here with Well Aware with his VAs, which are unbelievable, by the way, and then a bunch of AI. So it's going to be that's my team and resources. So the reason why I'm able to deliver on this is literally because technology is in a point right now where I can have, a delivery process and fulfillment process where they deliver on, whatever it might be. I oversee it. I take, a few hours out of the morning in which I'm my most productive, and I work the business and work on the business depending on what the day calls for. And then, of course, focusing on, the next afternoon and delivering for, the families that I get to deliver for, the familypreneurs that I get to deliver for, the husbands and the moms that don't have the time, but yet they're going to give it their aspect, which is, hey, I can fulfill on this. I just need help setting all these things up because I don't know how to do it and I don't have the time to learn it because I got 5 amazing kids that take everything from me. So whatever the case might be, this is what I found genuinely is my mission right now. I'm only going to take on 40, right? And that's all I can take on right now. I wish I could take on more, but I'm only going to take on 40 in the next. My goal is 40 in the next 40 days. If you guys make that happen, that's incredible. So, if you're getting the transfer of energy from this, and you genuinely feel like either somebody, or you are that person, I'm here for you. We'll share the contact information and stuff, but I just want that to be known is that's who I want to help, that's who I want to serve, and it's going to be so fulfilling just watching somebody that literally in my shoes. Because you got to understand, the only reason I'm confident in this is because I doubled what I was making at In and Out in 3 weeks with what I was doing. And that wasn't doing anything special. You don't need to be making millions off the bat, but hey, 30,000 is going a long way, 50,000 is going a long way, 60,000 is going a long way, 100,000 is going a long way. So that's why I know I can deliver, is because I've done it for myself. And now I've dropped back on my days, and as soon as I hit that threshold, where the business has actually tripled, in income, which we're coming up on here shortly. So if you guys want to support me in that, thank you so much. Then I will take a step back from in and out, because I will have my community to serve, my partners to serve, my families to serve, and just I'll be forever grateful because I get to just do what I love in my most authentic self, and yeah, just help people, which is going to be super sweet. So I'm excited. I, this is really, it seems like it's happening so fast, but I went through 8 years of an architecture profession in which, like, I was trying to find my purpose. I was trying to find what I was going to do, right? So I'm very grateful to have found what I'm good at, that involves everything from an aspect, because all those years, all good work is worthy, right? All those years putting in the architecture field, guess what I learned? I have 15 years of Adobe Suite experience where I'm able to do branding. I have a top level education from a design school by the name of Syracuse University School of Architecture, shout out, in which they really train you on how to think about solutions from a viewpoint that is contextual to the solution that is to the problem at hand. And so when you think about design solutions, when you think about sales solutions, marketing, and if you talk to any architect, they will tell you that the way they think is how they go about their business. When you actually purchase an architect, fun fact, you're buying into their design process. That's their philosophy, their design process. That's what you're buying into. And then of course the drawings, the documents that they produce is a result of that. But how they produce it is ultimately why the big name architects are the big name architects. Why the big firms are the big firms is because they found that passion in what they do.
Mike, we're running up on time,
Yeah.
and I have so much to follow up through. I have so much to follow up on because we do. Um, but I do want to highlight this to everyone. It's an honor to work with Mike. It's been incredibly transformative, day by day, sitting down with him, hour by hour, going through, making progress, feeling like motions are taking on momentum, and seeing deliverables, co-working on deliverables, just having someone to strategically talk with. Um, I hate to take any of the limelight and just express how much it feels nice to have a parallel like that in my world when I feel like I'm doing that for others. Like, Mike's expertise in this particular zone of space is so practical.
Thank
So
you, brother.
again, I just want to urge you to consider working with Mike. Have a chat with him. Feel free to reach out to him directly. If you want a warm intro for me, you know me. I'll make a warm intro for you. And with that, Mike, I just want to say again, thank you for our time today. Both,
Yeah.
thank you for this hour. Thank you for the hour prior where we made some definitive progress on, just me just straight up venting to you, just a couple of case studies that you were then able to turn around and turn into say like, hey, and you gave me the same call to action that you just expressed yourself with all openness and vulnerability. Like, are these the clients, case study 1 and 2, are these the clients that you really want to serve successfully? Or is it, case study 3 and 4 that when you started getting into it, I could see the light shining under you. And I was like really, really clear. Like there's energy there, there's prowess there. And yet take that energy, take that prowess, apply solid marketing and sales principles, put together an operational campaign strategy that actually moves the needle forward and actually allows those right type of individuals, obviously through experimentation and testing, to eventually meet with you and have a chat with you from a sales persona, which you then, as you have already been, sitting down, reviewing those conversations, reviewing those emails, seeing where there is sales alignment, seeing where there's sales disalignment, solving objections like that. Who the hell else have I met that has solved all those problems for me at the cost that you're providing? No one. Literally no one. Not
That
without pulling my leg somewhere here or there, but like literally no one. So
Thank
Dude.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Let's wrap things up.
Yeah.
Folks, if you want to talk to Mike, let me know. We'll put his information available to you on our blog, on our website, on all our social media, everywhere that you see the clips coming up from this episode, YouTube as well. Mike, any last final words before we go?
Um, I would say thank you, of course, coming from that gratitude aspect again. Thank you to, really every single life event that's led to this point. So shout out to shoot my family, because honestly, I would not be here without the support and the faith and the backing behind, my wife and my girls. And then lastly, to wrap it up, I am so looking forward to launching, actually, helping the beautiful families that will become partners. And that's going to be really cool. And it's going to come with a lot of different things. And so there are some details in which we got to discuss, after, if you are interested in that. But
Makes
honestly,
sense.
I did hit the gist. And at the end of the day, if you felt it, then cool. I'd love to either hop on a group call and or just like a one-on-one and really dive into how I can serve you. So I am looking forward to that greatly, to the families that I will serve, and to all the experiences that I have yet to go through. So for the journey, cheers to the journey. Cheers. Oh, I'm a
Cheers
huge
to the
baseball guy,
journey.
which is why the bat came out. I was like in my head, just like, I wonder if people are gonna be wondering why I'm holding a bat. It's because I played it my whole life. And I love baseball. Anyways, thank you. That's it. That's the last tidbit of information.
Mike, until next time.
Until next time. Ciao, brother. I beat you to it.
Damn it.
I
Take
got
care,
you.
everyone.
Take care. Bye.